Okay, so today we are going to learn about the passive voice. A little while ago, we're going to talk a little bit more about mysteries and ways to communicate what you know and what you don't already know, and what's important to you and what isn't important to you. So can you think of any mysteries that you have been exposed to recently?
Recently?
Yes.
Not any in particular, just some that I've seen in like TV shows.
So what happened in it?
Normally, the detectives from whatever precinct will get a call and they'll see like a body that's been misplaced, but they don't know like what happened to the victim. And so they go about in the episode like interviewing suspects and trying to figure out like what happened that night or the day before, whenever the murder or crime occurred.
So let's think about this murder that we were introduced to the last lesson.
Okay.
Do you remember who the person was that got killed?
Mr. Meyer.
And then do you remember what he was hit by?
A scale.
The scale, yep. And then a suspect was someone that he obviously knew, right? So we weren't there, so let's say that the subject was his friend. How can you tell that he's a suspect? Is there any clues that lead you to that?
That the friend was the suspect? From that picture? Well, I'm not sure if it's Mr. Meyer's bathroom or not, but if it was his friend, then it would make sense that he would be in his house because, like, he knows him, and that could occur.
Yeah. Okay. So let's think of these sentences. Someone killed Mr. Meyer last night. Someone knew Mr. Meyer's habits. He knew that the suspect knew that Mr. Meyer would be in the shower. And someone hit Mr. Meyer over the head with the scales in the bathroom. But sometimes instead of saying someone all the time, you replace that with the person that got hit. So Mr. Meyer was killed last night. Mr. Meyer's habits were known. Mr. Meyer was hit over the head with the scale in the bathroom. This is called the passive voice. Usually active sentences follow the order. So subject plus verb plus object. So in this case, someone would be the subject, killed would be the verb, and Mr. Meyer would be the object. And in passive sentences, we take the object, so the object is kind of like the focus of the sentence, and move it to the subject place. So now it's new subject plus a be verb plus a past participle. So Mr. Meyer was killed. And past participle is just usually something that's happened already or it happened in the past. And these two sentences, someone killed Mr. Meyer and Mr. Meyer was killed, mean the same thing. I'm just choosing who I want to focus on, someone or Mr. Meyer. So we're going to talk about moving the object to the front of the sentence.
Okay.
So sometimes we want to put the person or thing that was affected by that action in the spotlight. For this, we use the passive voice. So when I read the next sentence, I want you to tell me the subject, the verb, and the object in the sentence. So someone hit Mr. Meyer over the head with the scales in the bathroom. So what would be the subject in this case?
Mr. Meyer.
So subject would actually be...
Or is it someone?
Someone.
Okay.
Yes. The object would be Mr. Meyer.
Oh.
Because remember, object is the person that was affected by the action.
Okay.
Yeah. So what would be the verb?
Hit.
Hit. Yep. And then over the head, with the scales, and in the bathroom, those are all prepositional phrases.
Okay.
Okay, so now let's put Mr. Meyer, the object of the action, in the spotlight. Let's put the object first. So the sentence we're going to start with is Mr. Meyer.
Okay.
And then we're going to add the be verb. So now we need to let everyone know that Mr. Meyer didn't kill anyone. He was the one that was affected by someone else's action. So in order to do that, we have to add the verb to be as a sign that Mr. Meyer received the action. And the verb needs to stay in correct time, the past tense, because this happened yesterday. It didn't happen today, or it's not going to happen tomorrow. And then the verb has to have a third person singular to match Mr. Meyer. So the sentence would continue to be Mr. Meyer was. So now we're going to add the past participle. So we need to say the action, but we need to put it into the form, that past form. So see, saw, seen. So seen would be past participle. Then shoot, shot would be past participle. And sometimes they're the same. So shot would be the same as present and past.
Okay. And
then murder, murdered, murdered. So this complete sentence would be Mr. Meyer was killed. So I have these cards for you, and they say, so I'm going to not, and they say the words killed, Mr. Meyer, yesterday, and someone. Can you try to put those in order so that it starts with the object? Mm-hmm. Oh, it's with the subject. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, what? Okay.
Okay.
I have someone killed Mr. Meyer yesterday.
Yeah. Okay, so would this be a passive sentence?
Yes.
Passive sentences start with the object.
Oh, with the object and no?
No. So can you move it so that it starts with the object? So it would start with Mr. Meyer, because he was the one that was killed.
Right.
Oh, here's the word was.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
By someone
okay.
yesterday.
Okay.
Yep. So can you read that sentence to me?
Mr. Meyer was killed by someone yesterday.
Yep. Good. And now that would be a passive sentence. Okay, so let's try one more practice. And this time I'm going to give you in the bathroom with the scale, hit, over the head, Mr. Meyer, and someone.
Okay.
So
is it still passive?
Let's make it a non-passive sentence first. So it would start with the subject, which would be
someone.
Someone. Yep.
Okay. So I have someone hit Mr. Meyer over the head with a scale in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, so now let's make it a passive sentence. Put the person that felt the action at the beginning of the sentence.
Okay.
I forgot the word by again.
Someone was hit over the head. So I have Mr. Meyer was hit over the head with a scale by someone in the bathroom.
Yep. Good. Okay. So we're going to try one last thing.
Okay.
So Mr. Body was murdered last night by blank with blank in blank. So what you're going to do is you're going to fill out those blanks. So let me give you your choices first.
Okay.
The places that Mr. Body could potentially be killed in are these places. Can you read can you name some of the places that you see on this picture?
It looks like there's a kitchen, a living room with a piano, a patio area, Maybe like a dining room table.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like some stairs, a pool table room, and like an office.
Yep. And these are the weapons that Mr. Body could potentially been killed by. So the wrench, candlestick, lead pipe, knife, revolver, and rope. And then here are your. So it says Mr. Mrs. Peak Scarlet Green, Professor Plum, Mrs. White, and Colonial Mustard. Okay, so let's try it out. Who murdered Mr. Body? So you're going to make an active sentence.
Okay.
And then once you make an active sentence, you want to try to change it into a passive sentence.
Okay. And then I can pick any one of the
weapons, the places, and the suspects.
Okay. Let's see. Miss Scarlet killed Mr. Body with a wrench in the library.
And would that be active or passive?
That would be active.
And can you change that into a passive sentence?
Yeah, so then it'd be Mr. Body was killed by Miss Scarlet with a wrench in the library.
Good. All right. That's the last activity for passive. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.